Good morning and welcome to One Baha'i, that regular show where I just share a few personal thoughts about the Baha'i faith. It's nothing official, just one individual's opinion. For years, I would love to ask people about their favorite prayer or who the first Baha'i was in their family. I still love to do that. And many times, people have surprised me with their favorite prayer. I mean, stories of the first Baha'is in their family, oh my gosh, incredible stories. But asking people about their favorite prayer, many, many times they share a prayer that I hadn't really considered. And because it is their favorite, they have gotten me to look at it in a new way. One of these prayers, I'm sure you know it, it begins, "From the sweet scented streams of thine eternity, give me to drink." I remember the first time it was brought to my attention. I'd probably been a Baha'i a decade by this point, and it was a young woman named Amber in Saskatoon. And I had never really considered the prayer before then. And just this weekend, it was brought to my attention again by my friend Jim, who sent me a couple of videos in response to the Four Valleys. He said that my videos had made him think of a few things about this book that he just hadn't considered before. It was really wonderful to watch these. And in response, I'm looking at "From the Sweet Scented Streams" again. I love how this dialogue through videos has gone back and forth, and how we each get each other to look at the writings in a new way. He had made the comment, he had made the comment that when he reads this prayer, this is where he longs to be. He longs to be where Baha'u'llah describes. And he said that he realized that he could be there whenever he wants. All he has to do is read the prayer and his spirit is there. Now, I have to say, for me, I have long thought of this prayer as a pilgrimage. It's a journey to Baha'u'llah, for me. And whenever I read it now, I find myself transported there. And I wanted to share a little bit about that. So what I'm going to do is read a little bit, share a thought, read a bit more, share a thought, etc. Maybe I'll read the prayer as a separate video for those who want to hear it in its entirety. But the link is in the comments, so you can follow the link to the prayer itself if you want to read along. "From the sweet scented streams of thine eternity, give me to drink, O my God. And of the fruits of the tree of thy being, enable me to taste, O my hope." When I read just those two phrases, I imagine myself waking up next to a stream. Maybe I'm not even waking up, maybe I'm just walking and there's a stream and I bend down and I drink. Because really, that's one of the first things I do in the morning. I have a sip of water. And then I reach up to a tree that is bearing fruit and I taste a piece of it. I pick an apple or a plum and I just enjoy it in the morning. And by the way, going from attribute to attribute, "Oh my God" to "Oh my hope," there's another journey, but I'm not going to go into that this time. Maybe later this week. Who knows? We'll see. "From the crystal springs of thy love, suffer me to quaff, O my glory. And beneath the shadow of thine everlasting providence, let me abide, O my light." So again, I imagine myself walking. I start off at the stream and I'm walking and I find the spring from which the stream originates. "Within the meadows of thy nearness, before thy presence, make me able to roam, O my beloved. Now, I grew up on the prairies, so I just picture myself wandering, walking through these meadows. The flowers are in bloom, and everything is so beautiful, but it's the flowers of summer, not the flowers of spring, and there's a richness to that, an unexpected richness, which I always treasure. And at the right hand of the throne of thy mercy, seat me, O my desire. From the fragrant breezes of thy joy, let a breath pass over me, O my goal, and into the heights of the paradise of thy reality, let me gain admission, O my adored one. So here, I always imagine myself walking in these meadows, these beautiful, vibrant, living meadows, and there is the throne of God. And as this breeze comes along, I feel it blowing across my cheek, just caressing me, lifting me up. And I imagine myself rising into the air like a kite. And then, as I am let down, I imagine myself in the gardens in the Holy Land. To the melodies of the dove of thy oneness, suffer me to hearken, O resplendent one. And through the spirit of thy power and thy might, quicken me, O my provider. I imagine a bird. I actually was there in the Holy Land, meditating in the gardens around the Shrine of the Bab, and I heard a bird in a tree. Now, this was before the terraces had been built. So there was a lot more wilderness. And this one bird just, I don't know, he caught my attention with his song. And he reminded me of the Bab, drawing my attention, reminding me of the ethereal spirit of God there. In the spirit of thy love, keep me steadfast, O my succorer, and in the path of thy good pleasure, set firm my steps, O my maker. I remember when I heard this bird, I was moved to stand and walk along the path back to the Shrine of the Bab. That melody drew me closer to his spirit in that moment. Within the garden of thine immortality, before thy countenance, let me abide forever, O thou who art merciful unto me. And upon the seat of thy glory, stablish me, O thou who art my possessor. When I read those lines, I'm reminded of a very special moment in my life. It was my first pilgrimage, and I was in the Shrine of the Bab, and I wanted to put my forehead on the threshold, that little rise between the room where the pilgrims say their prayers and where the Bab is actually interred. Now, this was before they opened the back room, so there were only the two side rooms, and I was in the one room, and I was about to stand up and approach the threshold when I realized that Hand of the Cause, Mr. Furatan, was there. And he had his hands on that little stoop leading up to the room. Because the room, as you know, that central room, as you know, is one step up. And he had his hands there on his forehead. And he was so wrapped in his devotions. He was so oblivious of anything else. And I waited. What else could I do? And I waited until he stood up and very reverently backed away. And that was when I approached the threshold. And I put my forehead there, and I realized it was wet. My forehead was wet. And at first I thought that I had been sweating, and I had felt the sweat on my brow, but then I realized, no, that wasn't it. It's that Mr. Furitan had been weeping. He had been crying, tears flowing in such profusion that when I placed my forehead there, one of the drops was still there, and I touched it with my forehead. And I was so touched by his emotion and his feelings. And then, the next time I went to the shrine of Baha'u'llah, when I went to put my forehead there, I remembered his tear. And those two are always interlinked in my mind now. So in this prayer, I move very naturally from the shrine of the Bab to the shrine of Baha'u'llah. I don't even remember where I am in the prayer now. To the heaven of thy loving kindness, lift me up, O my quickener, and unto this day star of thy guidance, lead me, O thou my attractor. Before the revelations of thine invisible spirit, summon me to be present, O thou who art my origin and my highest wish. And unto the essence of the fragrance of thy beauty, which thou wilt manifest, cause me to return, O thou who art my God. Potent art thou to do what pleaseth thee. Thou art verily the most exalted, the all-glorious, the all-highest. I always imagine when I'm at the shrine of Baha'u'llah in this prayer, I put my forehead down and I'm lifted up. My spirit is lifted up into the heavens. And I feel myself closer to his presence. These prayers, I always imagine that Baha'u'llah has given us the words that our heart wishes to say. And this is what my heart longs to say to God. And it's why I feel that I'm able to become closer to my Creator through these prayers. Because Baha'u'llah has given my heart the words that it wished that I could say. So, for Amber, who first pointed this prayer out to me, and for Jim, who reminded me of it again this weekend, I really thank you both. These prayers are so beautiful, and it's so wonderful to be reminded of them through friends who have such a longing for them. Just wanted to share some of the beauty of that prayer to me. I would love to hear your thoughts on this prayer. And I would love to hear what your favorite prayer is. And maybe a little bit of why it calls to you. So thank you very much for joining me today. Please feel free to hit like or subscribe. As you know, it makes a difference, makes it easier for other people to find these prayers and find these videos, I mean. Yeah, I really appreciate you joining me this morning. We'll talk again tomorrow.